Hello there! How is everyone doing today? Welcome to Sketchy Cup. We're back at it, back at Sketchy Cup where every day is a sketch and every sketch is a cup of joy.
Oh dear.
Sorry, I'm sorry. We're joined by my wonderful wife and MC today. Let me see if I can fix. We're just making sure our video and stuff is as good as it can be.
Tech stuff, am I right?
Tech stuff.
I think the most interesting part about this is that we tried to make me like I could take some tech problems.
Yeah.
I tried real hard.
For some reason, we're not getting any focus on Carla's camera.
I mean, it's almost there. I'm not going to be there right now.
Okay, well, we'll be fine. We'll just move on from this. Sorry that your camera is blurry. But we have a great episode today. We apologize for missing the last week. We had some technical difficulties that I think we're hoping to get around this time. But yeah, we're back.
Yes, if anyone's watching live with us, welcome. And if you notice anything that we don't notice, sound, screen, comments not working, please let us know if you're here. That'd be helpful.
We're very new to this, but we're getting better. We're getting better. So every episode will be a journey.
True.
Right. Ooh, today's cup is a mocha.
Iced mocha.
An iced mocha from our Hawaiian Kona beans. This is delicious.
It actually is very tasty. It tastes like a adult chocolate milk.
I know, I've never really had a mocha before, so it was fun to make. Okay, so today's episode, we're going to be talking about drawing characters in the wild. And the way that this idea kind of came up was we just got back from a trip that we did with our 11, not our youngest, our second oldest.
Yes.
Yes. And we take, he turned 11. We have this tradition where if they read all the Harry Potter books, if they read them, we force them to read them.
We incentivize pretty highly.
Yeah, so. we incentivize pretty highly. And so what we do is, they read the books, then they get their letter, and then we take them on a one-on-one trip to Harry Potter World, which is great.
Yes, so good. So we just love the actual story of Harry Potter, and our oldest was a reader, and then we thought, we're in charge of our own life. We could make them go to Hogwarts and be wizards.
Yeah, because we're wizards. Definitely, they have to be wizards. Yeah. So
it was very fun. So our eldest, it was almost 3 years ago, read the books. We have a pretty strict rule in our house. We have to read the books before you can see the movies, and after the third book, you have to starting on book 4.
They have to start reading.
You have to read them yourself.
Himself, yeah.
You have to have your own experience. So.
Yeah.
Yes, our second son just did that, and we went to Harry Potter World, and it's so fun because every vacation we've ever been on, Matt is constantly looking around, or just on the train, or walking at a park, literally anywhere.
Yeah, so this is something that started a long time ago, actually, and just kind of reminded us as we were on this trip, is that I had always started my day with gesture sketches. Like I would sit down, and before I start any of the work day that I would do, or even before I started school, this is how far it started back. It was like when I was in school for 3D design and stuff, that I started doing my gesture drawings, but I would just, would use internet references and all that. And then it has slowly evolved to, oh, well, there's coffee shops next door that I could go to, and I would sit down and I'd draw people. And then as that evolved, I started riding the train to work, and I would sit and I would, have a 30 to 40 minute commute. And it was like the perfect time to sit and just like rough sketch the whole time. And I just became in love with like that morning ritual. And I've continued that up until basically this day, where most days I would say that I start my days with warm-up sketches, and then if I can be out, I will go out and I'll draw people. But now that I'm home and I'm making my own coffees, I'm out less and less. So I find myself watching people and taking field notes. So what I'm looking for when I'm looking out for people is not just like what is an attractive person or what is the hot person. And this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I believe that hot people are actually pretty boring.
Yeah. I mean,
Be,
what
and I'm going to
hot
explain that
people is so subjective.
hot
but
people is
yes.
very subjective because, like, I mean, ouch. But what I mean is, like, hot people is these people, you know, we live in this society where we're all trying to look like each other, and most hot people are trying to follow the current trends and the current looks and, you know, the hairstyles and colors schemes and things like that. So when I'm out, especially like when we were at Harry Potter World, and you know, I would say that 80% of the women all look alike, 95% of the men all look alike because men don't want to look different. We don't want to try stuff. But then you find people who are like comfortable with themselves and unique to their, like, they're designing, they're stylizing themselves to their own personalities. And you see that, you see the uniqueness to them. There's like this um, life that they have to them, and that's what I look for. Is I'm looking for something. It's like, oh my gosh, that is so cool, or something that I wouldn't have thought of normally. Um, and that's normally like how I approach my life drawings of like what catches my eye, and then like once I see that, then I take my, you know, maybe, and it depends because sometimes these people are like walking by in an instant, and you have like 5 seconds to capture their entire soul. Is what I'm trying to do. In essence, is trying to capture the entire soul. Um, but essentially, like I'm trying to connect with that person in a way that, like, okay, who is that person? What are their likes? What are their dislikes? What are their personalities? What would they be doing? To not only just like, oh, it's a cool person in a funky sweater and they're wearing a fedora with a 3 mile or a 3 foot long feather in it. Like that's that's one part of it, but what I actually want to do is start breaking this down of like how do I tell the story of who this is with this with this person? Like how do I tell a full complete story, not just show
just
someone in
pause
a
real quick.
costume.
Introduce your cat.
Oh my
He's
gosh.
climbing around.
We have an intruder today. This is my mascot. Hey, say hi, Stanley.
His name is Stan.
Ooh, he's a good baby.
Elf Sphinx.
He's a hairless elf sphinx, and he's a good boy.
But he's wandering around the office right now.
He's very interested.
Liberally.
I know, so we might have to kick him out. But he does like it in here because it's warm and he has.
He's so blown out on screen because he's so.
I know. Let's see if I go back with him, then you can see his pinkness. Oh, he's so sweet. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. Sorry, I can't help it.
Okay, so to get started, let's do something interesting and actually do some warm-up sketches.
Ooh, let's do some warm-up sketches.
And I actually just want you to do something.
Okay, we're gonna try something a little new that I've never done before.
Oh, great.
I know. So this is obviously the way to do it. I want to try to screen from my iPad. This is where this has become my sketchbook. I like sketching on my computer still, but it's not as natural to me anymore. Like it's not as like free form. So if this doesn't work, then I will definitely stream from my computer instead.
Okay.
But I did a test on this earlier and it worked. And there were cheers. Lots of cheers.
Many cheers.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so let's get that on the screen.
Okay, so this is on the screen. So this is my so I'll be drawing in Procreate today.
You need to like remove me.
We're gonna get Carla out of here.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh. And maybe we'll switch us up, or how about that?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. So I really like drawing in Procreate, mostly because I love the Apple Pencil. I think is the best stylus ever created. It kills Wacom's stylus. It feels like a pencil. It feels like what I've been growing up with and using my whole life. I use red traditionally, but for no real reason. I have a billion brushes, but I really only use maybe 4 brushes. It's kind of the same with my 3D work. Like I have a billion 3D brushes, but really I only use a handful. Okay, so let's now give a little bit of a, let's make sure. Cancel. And we are going to start something new here. Sometimes I just like to do some circles to get my arm moving and to just start feeling that flow.
Oh, cat.
Oh my goodness.
I might have to take
We're going to get him out of here.
Sorry.
Oh, what an intruder.
Good gravy.
He is cute though, like adorable to the 10th
Sure.
degree. So let's just acknowledge that. So anyway, just like to kind of do some things, wiggles, woggles. But now let's talk about what I would do for like an approach. Let's say I'm in the coffee shop. I'm sitting down, and sometimes I'm just drawing shapes and just kind of waiting for the inspiration to hit. And we're going to do a little exercise, like a 10-second exercise of, let's say someone walks in and I have 10 seconds to see them because they're getting their coffee order. These are just references that I found online of just random people. And so she's going to the counter, she's making an order. What do I do? I know that I only have a very short amount of time, so I'm quickly going to make my field notes. Okay, red beret, and I'm not going to write this out because I'm horrible at writing.
I also can't see that where you're writing it.
Oh, yeah, because this is covering my screen. Anyways, 10 seconds, red beret, leather jacket, plaid skirt, cool, slightly yellow shoes, or like yellow socks. That's one of the details I'm going to take. And then leather shoes, white shirt, graphic design on it. Probably can't get the details. Like that's all the stuff, like the little stuff I'm not going to be able to get, but then she's gone. She grabbed her cup and now she's gone. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I actually want to like try to remember her outfit as best I can, because her outfit is cool. It's like it's a part of her personality. So red beret, first I'm drawing more or less what I consider like my T pose in 2D. I do this in 3D. You make your T pose before you pose them. So I've got the red beret. She had that cool leather jacket. This is, and again, like this does not really matter what I'm doing here. It's more for
a reminder.
Just a reminder of like, okay, so these are the elements that I'm going to be including. I'm not even drawing the body. She had that cool, long, high-waisted skirt in a plaid with the shirt underneath. And then she had cool short socks. And I would probably put yellow because I thought it was a cool accent to her outfit. Like
a pale yellow.
It was this pale yellow. It kind of brought the outfit together, but it was such a subtle hint. And like I love fashion, and I love when people like embrace their own fashion. And I feel like this was a choice that she intentionally made, was those socks. And so, anyways, yellow. And then she had those cool leather short boots.
Something's on your screen, Sadie.
Oh my goodness. Unregistered. Look at that. It's unregistered. So we're going to switch this back over to just...
Okay, so one of the things I noticed being next to you when you're doing this is, one, it can get a little weird because you're kind of staring at people, but not in a way that you're just staring at the essence of people, which is cool. Two, you never take secret photos.
Yeah, I don't take photos. I don't try to take photos. The important thing about this is like, I'm not trying to recreate that person one for one specifically. Like that specific, like.
Do something. You're on there now. Okay.
Can you see? Yeah. Okay. We are now switching to.
Good try.
Good try. Good try.
So
Okay.
we have asked people like respectfully, like, "Hey, your style's so cool. Can I take your photo?" And it almost ends up becoming more stale because you're trying to recreate something specific because you have like too long of a reference or too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's honestly kind of it. Is like once you like we've done that before. It's
Yes.
this trial and error of like, hey, your outfit's really cool, and they even do like a cool pose or something, and then I go and draw that, and it ends up being, oh, what does this person think that they look like? Is what I'm putting into the
Mm.
drawing versus what do I think that this character, who do I think this character is? And those are two very different things. Like if I'm drawing a commission and I want it to reflect that specific person, there's a lot more that I'm considering of like who that person is, what their personality types are. Are they gonna like this
Yeah. Like.
if I emphasize one part of their anatomy or another, make their ears big, their nose large, their eyes tiny, like anything that I would do to normally like push the the character, people may not like because they're like, oh, that's, one thing or another. But if it's just for me, which this is, and I'm not trying to tell that person's story, I'm actually trying to invent a story of inside my head that I can actually share as well. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, so back to so the beret, jacket, high waisted skirt, shirt, short yellow socks, boots. Okay, so that's a great first pass. Now I want to start thinking about some of those character design elements. So looking at this, the impression that I got from that woman is that she's a sweetheart, that she's very kind, she's soft, probably someone that people confide in. The shapes that I was seeing was a lot more like circular shapes, maybe even some circular and like some square shapes, where she's someone of a firm foundation. She's someone who also comforts, um, kind of thing. So those are probably the ideas of like, okay, how do I add these two shapes together? Okay, so then like, oh, um, we've got the head, we've got the body, and this is just really quick and trying to figure out, okay, now again, I'm just trying to get the feel of what this is. This is like my next phase where like I'm putting her just in a pretty standard pose that I've used a billion times to just see, okay, are things working? What's not working? What could I push more? I like maybe the idea of her feet being a little bit tinier so we can emphasize those socks. Um, and I'm just starting to think through this character a little bit more. And then maybe I think, okay, well, what would I see this character doing? Because my reference is she came up, she asked for a cup of coffee, she got her cup of coffee, and she left. That really isn't a whole lot of pose references. But what can I do to tell this woman's story just a little bit more? So maybe take this down. I'm like, okay, I like some of those body shapes. I don't maybe like all the body shapes. Um, but let's see, maybe this person, and how do I emphasize some things with this? So maybe this person is actually, she would be sitting, and like I like to rough sketch a bunch, so I kind of maybe she's sitting and she's talking with a friend. This is like origins of the legs. So what I'm doing is just really kind of blocking out kind of the core areas, the chest, the hips. Where are those tilts going to be? Her neck. So I can find that overall flow. And I'm overlapping. So like if she's going to have one leg, ooh, that one's going to have to be a little bit higher maybe. So we have this leg kind of poking through here. That leg's going to go up just a little bit more. And I like to just make a bunch of mistakes, especially when I'm in my gestures where things don't matter at this point. Okay. This is all about finding the flow. Maybe she's looking over this way. Maybe because she was buying coffee, maybe she's holding a cup of coffee. And then now, so like this is my very, very loose sketch. Maybe a couple of eyes to like show intention of where she's looking. So maybe the idea is she's just sitting on a bench in a park and she's just enjoying being outside. And this is like how it starts to come together. As like I'm developing this character and thinking about this character, I'm starting to get to know this character inside my own head. And as I'm doing that, it's filling in the gaps as I'm continuing to draw. Because there's really no specific. I haven't practiced these characters beforehand, so this is
Just like live creation.
just live creation. But this is how I do. This is how I go about all of my sketches. I don't really have a straightforward plan. I would say 95% of the time.
Yeah, you just like go into it, get inspired, and then either gesture, start something, or carry it onto a full 2D color, and then occasionally you move it to 3D. But it's like always starts with a rough sketch.
Mm-hmm. So you've been with me when we've been out and we've talked about like what do I look for.
Yeah, so sometimes we'll sit on a bench because I am curious about how he picks out what's interesting in people, because it's not necessarily what I would think is interesting. But you're like, anything that's oversized or undersized is almost always interesting. Someone with like really, really big hair or really, really big earrings is like immediately interesting to your eye because it's just so oversized on what could be a regular person.
And it's like this uniqueness that like
they made the choice.
They made the choice
yeah.
to do that. Yeah, it's a very like intentional thing when you see someone that has unique qualities like that. You're like, oh, this person intentionally is intentionally that, and most likely very confident in who they are.
Yeah, I mean, I think we always try to see the confidence of people, and it is interesting being in a visual field is like how much it's not person to person. It's not Matt staring at a specific woman or a specific man, because that can come across.
And, I think I get that. It's like, oh, you just like looking at people. I'm like, actually, the real person probably doesn't look like this at all. Or like the idea of I think beauty is very subjective, and I think most people are attractive.
Yeah, I think everybody is in their own unique way, which is beautiful.
Yeah, so I think that's not the argument. And I think two, when you really come down to it, there's there's only a handful of people that have like true style. And when you find those people, it's fun. It's fun to almost analyze how they got to be that style.
But I also think it's not even about style.
No, it's not.
Choices.
Yeah.
I think it's just about interest.
It's just interest in like what inspires me to tell a story.
How they carry their body, how they do it. So last time, 3 years ago, when we went with our oldest son to Harry Potter World, you did a drawing. I don't know if you can bring it.
Oh my gosh! I bet I can find that.
So find it real quick. So I'll just talk for a second.
Yeah, you talk.
3 years ago, he did a drawing. As we were walking around, he saw this larger adult man just having the time of his life. He had his wand out, he had his butterbeer, and he was just like fully embracing his wizardness. And I'm pretty sure that's where, anywho, Matt drew it, and I kind of remember it, and it was just so fun. And I was like, oh, that's such a great character. And then this time around, it was interesting because it wasn't necessarily on the forefront of his mind to be looking for anybody specific, but it ended up being a woman in Gryffindor attire that did not look like a Gryffindor, which is a funny thing.
It was a cool like it was cool. It was like, what would
you have to keep focusing on finding.
Oh my goodness! Sorry,
he can't always talk and multitask. So you gotta do you.
Ooh, we're getting closer.
Getting closer. It's fine.
It was just like what would almost like a 19 '60s rockabilly
It was like a rockabilly
Gryffindor,
So
and it was like so.
yeah,
It was so different from anything that I've seen as far as like the Gryffindor style of like the vest, the skirt,
conservative, like
conservative,
Hermione.
and actually it was pretty much that same
It was, but it was
outfit, but it was
edgier.
edgier and very very intentional.
Yeah, it was cool. But she like was carrying herself with all the confidence. I don't think she was doing it. Any part of her was necessarily like a look at me kind of energy, except for, you know, people are looking at each other all the time, all day anyway. But she was owning it in a cool way. And you said, oh, that's a character that I want to draw.
Uh-huh.
It was like an immediately, that's a character I want to draw. So what Matt did is he pulled out his phone and he immediately went to his note tab and he just wrote Rockabilly Gryffindor. Plaid vest, short skirt, knee highs, tattoos everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So like these were some of the trademarks of what this specific person looked like, and it would make a really cool looking character just to draw.
Yeah, I cannot find that, but I can find another one that I did that was similar.
Yeah, that was cool.
So this is on a different trip where we were at a taco stand in Hawaii, and this family showed up and they got their tacos, and it was just the funniest combination of people of like this dad who was exhausted beyond beyond all imagine, sunburned, realizing that he just spent $2,000 on 5 tacos, and this kid is just like, yes, tacos. This mullet kid. I mean, I was just like, gorgeous. Everything about it. And then this mom who was just all the way zoned out into doing something else. It was just a great.
As is her right.
As is her right. She's probably been
as a mother on vacation.
She's been putting up with that kid, trying to get those tacos all day.
Okay, show us one other because I'm curious about some of the other ones like, in the wild.
Ooh, in the wild.
Yeah, some of the other ones that you could pull into the screen just to kind of give sketch or like her. Yeah, she's cool.
So this was a woman that I saw coming home from an airport, and in the end, she doesn't look very much like this, but she was very cool. She had these cool tattoos. She had, you know, this cool look. She actually had a big hat too. But this was like my field notes. This was exactly what I did. I was like, oh, she's really cool. I want to remember like specific things. Big pink bag, big green dress, big orangey brown coat, like fur coat, glasses. How do I push that? And this is where it ended up. Now, whether it reflects who this person actually is, it doesn't matter to me. Because I'm not trying to tell this a realistic story. I'm trying to tell what I see as this person's story.
And then make it your own, because now I see it as 3 times removed. It's not the person, I'm not the artist, and I'm just the viewer of your art. And I can see maybe what you're trying to convey by that pose, by that person, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
Right. Yeah, I'll do one more quick example too. Of this, another guy in the airport says apparently those are the only places when I'm outside now.
I mean, he does spend an awful lot of time in this room for his life.
Honestly, saw this guy in the airport. He was the coolest guy there. Bright green, like everything about this guy was intentional. His cool jacket that he wore with these big checker sleeves. I mean, I think I got this jacket because I thought he was cool and I thought I could pull it off too.
You did.
I'm sure. But he's got these bright green pants, this bright purple bag. Like, he was so cool. Anyways.
Okay, so if you what has happened, have you ever, while you sketch something else so it's interesting to the screen, have you ever, what do you do when someone notices that you're drawing them? Because that happens, especially when he was commuting on the train previous to the 5 years ago, now that he works at home for 5 years. But prior to that, and even like 10 years ago, when you were commuting on a train, you would call them train sketches? Train?
Yes. Train dumps or something.
Yes.
It was...
I hate when Matt calls his things dumps. Let's just say.
Sorry. I don't know how it started.
He always uses sketchy, which is why we went with sketchy cup, because he's like sketchy.
It was probably better than dumps.
Yes.
Sketchy dumps.
So, but we've been in public, in spaces where you've been drawing people you know. You've done that a few times.
Yeah, I've done that. Like,
or people notice you, or you'll notice that they are noticing you, and you're like, yes, I am drawing a version of you. And how do you feel about that, and what
Yeah.
do you do in that
It's funny because most of the time I notice when people notice that I'm drawing them, and I'm never shy to like if they want to come up and talk to me and ask me questions or like see, I'll always show them.
Okay, so it looks like we have two Diegos and
Ooh.
Pete Robbie.
Oh,
So
nice.
they're just saying
Hey,
hello.
thanks guys. Hey Pete. Hey Rob.
So if you guys have any questions while you're live here, you actually have live access right now. If you have any questions specifics to what Matt is doing or anything other topic to talk about, but we're gonna treat this as like a podcast kind of energy of a video cast. But being here live will have its perks because then you actually can ask questions.
There's going to be so
else.
many perks. We're going to do giveaways.
We're not.
We're going
to.
We're going to do exclusives. It will be great. You'll be able to recommend drinks for us.
I mean, that's actually just good to get to know people because the part of this is just trying to get a community of people who are interested in art, 3D, or talking about how you see the world. Because Matt and I definitely see the world differently.
What?
In terms of like how you're a visual person. He sees things very visually, and I am more of a logistical person and specific, like realistic, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't see the world in cartoons like Mr. Artist here. But it is interesting to sit on a bench and like I could write a short story about the same character that he's drawing because I would take it that direction in terms of being like I could make a whole story about what this person getting coffee is, what kind of day is she having. I could maybe take that into words or into like a situation in the world, like logistically, and Matt can just make it so visual, you would get it immediately by the visual. So different types of ways.
But like that's why people like books.
I know.
And
I do love books because I'm a word person and he's an art person, which is cool to come together on. Okay, so you're
so now like so this is the next step that I do is like okay, I feel pretty good about this pose.
You've lightened the red.
I've lightened the red. I've softened it. I've made it a new layer, and this is exactly my same process for everything. Even when I'm drawing with pen and paper, I draw with red, and then I'll erase it to see the light lines, and then draw over it with a different color. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a very standard practice.
So I know you don't usually have the reference photo up, but do you want to show people so that?
Oh yeah, for people who are joining
just
in,
like peek it on the side. The idea of what he's doing right now, just for anyone who's just joined us or looking at this later, is that he had maybe under a minute to see.
Yeah, the idea is okay. Let's say I'm in a coffee shop or I'm in the street and I see this woman walk by or come into the coffee shop and buy a drink. You really only have so much time, so I'm not trying to draw every single detail before she's gone. I'm trying to visualize and keep a list in my head of what are important things about this woman that I want to.
Yeah, so maybe just keep her to the side just to show people who just are joining later.
I'm going to keep bringing her in because I actually think it's better to not have it up or not like for me to not even use it as a reference.
Good idea.
So that I can push my own design on this because it will definitely. Oh, excuse me. My goodness, that was horrible. We'll eat that. We'll bleep that out, right? We've got digital processes that will.
This is why.
Oh my goodness!
Life is so weird.
Apparently, the mocha. It's the mocha.
Just move on. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. Humans are humans.
But see, because now that I saw that picture again, I'm like, oh, one of the things that I really liked about her was her smile. It was like.
But now that you look too closely, and now you're trying to nail what was actual instead of your own.
And so like I'm just okay. Well, how do I add that little bit of design element in?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna change it just a little bit to like. I thought she had a nice smile. So again, this is still pretty rough. I really like to. When I'm drawing, especially like when I'm drawing on a big tablet like this, or my little tablet, I do a lot of zoom ins where I'm like working really close, but sometimes zooming in, you lose touch with the whole the design as a whole. And so even in Procreate, I'll bring up just my canvas. So I'm always seeing the whole picture while I'm working on the details. Because like if I'm only focusing in on this right here and ignoring how this relates to this, then my design will be disconnected in some ways. And it's less fixing afterwards if I want to fix it, kind of thing. But I like drawing up close because it's easier to do big lines, kind of thing. So, oops. So keeping with like that same idea that I'm working with circles and rectangles mostly on this. You know.
And then her beret, which is
Yeah.
cute.
She's got that cute beret. You know, and just kind of checking how things would like affect silhouette over here versus, you know, I want things to break. I don't want everything to be one big shape. I want, you know, to have areas of, I want this to be a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more shape changes here on this side. And then on this side where she's not looking, I want this to be a little bit less. So just like as I'm designing this, I'm like, okay, if I'm putting more detail over here, I'm going to try to like tone this down just a little bit. I really like to kind of do a quick draw over of anatomy where I'm, you know, able to figure out kind of the maybe what some of the would be harder to see with the clothes on. So I'm not like getting detailed or anything like that. But just like, okay, well, if this is 3D, how would kind of these shapes work together? Because like the perspective would change and shift. So sometimes I'm drawing like contour lines. And then as I'm drawing this, I'm noticing, okay, this pose that I have her in isn't necessarily going to reflect all the elements that her real life partner had. So how do I showcase the most important things of those elements into
a sitting posture?
Into a sitting posture where, you know, she's a little bit more,
because the skirt is pretty like wide and like triangular out when you're watching it. How do you do it while she's sitting?
And the skirt and the shirt and jacket combination, because it's gonna she's crunching in, so it's gonna be compressing all of those details. So how do I make sure that if I want to emphasize the shirt, the jacket, the graphic underneath,
I would just drape it over her shoulders.
Yeah, you could just, this is what I'm talking about, is like figuring out.
Yeah, so instead of it being on her arms, it's like draped over.
So you have like the drapery and it's coming down, and then you'll have the collar and then the folds because it would kind of bunch up here. But this one maybe is up the full length.
And why are you making her sitting instead of standing?
Again, no reason preference? Of like, it's no preference. Doing a pose like this all the time just gets boring and stale. Like, it's not bad. I like this pose. I use this pose all the time. But it does have like a little element of just like, well, what are they doing? What, like, this is pretty static, and like you can make a beautiful character design just like this.
Which is why the picture's so cool, is because it's just like a portrait.
Yeah, she's awesome. Like, she can stand there and she's freaking cool.
She's already doing her thing.
But now I'm not necessarily just trying to make something that looks cool. I'm trying to tell a story. And this was what, you know, in real life, if I'm like trying to make this something fleshed out, I probably wouldn't have her sitting. But this is just how my initial gesture started. And so I'm just following it. And so like, okay, well, putting her here, knowing the things that I know that I've created about her. Yeah, maybe she is just out on a bench in the park having a good time.
Having her drink.
Like she's having
cool
a drink
outfit,
in
she's
her
just
cool
living.
outfit and she's just living and she's out. And like that's more or less her story. That's
Okay, so you got a comment from your friend Pete.
yes.
It's been a while since we spoke. You still epic and doing ZBrush after you do your sketches. Would you do this in ZBrush maybe?
Yes, actually the approach is very similar. Well, thanks for joining, Pete. It's been a while. Yeah, so I'm still at Epic, still a senior character artist there. And yeah, so we have a very, very similar approach. I mean, except for the posing part, like we're in ZBrush, we are making characters that can animate, and so we're not doing like the R&D on them, like where we're you'll see with film that they'll make like a pose cinematic model, and then they'll take that cinematic model and then T-pose it out to start animating.
What's
But
an R&D?
Research and
Oh,
development.
thank you.
So you'll have artists that will just do that. They're worrying about the look and the feel of the character, not the technical aspects of the character. But in games, because we are worrying a little bit about that, and our production is really, really fast, we're just characters in T-pose.
Okay.
Yeah. But how I make my own characters is very, very similar. I'll block out their pose, model them in T-pose real quick, bring them into that pose that I blocked out earlier, and then possibly start detailing the clothes on top of that, if I hadn't already started like slowly blocking them out. So back to this, we're like just quick semblance of anatomy, so that when I start adding clothes, that some of my questions are already answered. Of like, okay, so how does this form fit on top of that kind of thing? Okay, so that's like stage 2, where I now have my rough sketch, which I'll drop down, and then I have my anatomy sketch that I draw on top of that, and then I'll drop that down. Oh, whoops. Oh, there it goes. And then this is where I'll actually start refining my sketch of like, okay, so what's working, what's not working. I like the direction is over here. If I had more time, I would probably update this pose a little bit. Maybe put this arm down here, so it's she's holding here,
And then the other one is doing the cup.
maybe the cup is over here, just to like open up her torso a little bit more. But maybe that's as far as we want to take this, and I think I want to showcase my Gryffindor gal that we talked about earlier. We're gonna do it on the iPad again. It's gonna show unregistered. Is that a problem?
No, I mean not at the beginning.
Not at the beginning. We're gonna. Okay.
Do you think that you will add new stuff to Gumroad?
Yes, I am working on some stuff for Gumroad. It's a slower process, as it's become a lot harder over time to develop full videos and things like that.
I guess it's interesting because we don't necessarily have access to students, like the students of his Gumroad classes, because he's sold thousands of courses and it's all 5-star reviews. I believe him to be a very good teacher, but sometimes we don't totally understand the direction that people are interested in learning. Is it easier to do short, quicker tutorials, or is it like long form, very, very detailed ones? Because it matters how he makes them. And as you can see from this very high quality operation.
It's a very high quality operation.
We've got a 2-person team over here.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
So, what time are we at here?
10:47.
Oh, 10. We're great.
So try to do this
Okay.
in like 10
So
minutes.
I'm going to showcase the Gryffindor gal that we talked about earlier, where she was this kind of rockabilly 1960s styled Gryffindor, something that I hadn't really seen before. And so I didn't have my sketch pad. I only, saw her for a minute or two. And so I took out my phone and wrote notes. Red vest, bow tie, cool plaid skirt, long red hair with a stripe in it, kind of things like that. I'm like, okay, and so how do I further develop this? So the first thing that I'm drawing is just my overall like T-pose costume sketch of what I think. Then from there, I start to develop like, okay, what kind of pose is she going to be in? And I draw something like this. I actually loved this pose. She's out, she's tickling what are they called? A pygmy puff. But it wasn't the character that I wanted. Mm-hmm. She was too cute and happy. Uh-huh. She was like way too bubbly for this, but I loved this. But I'm like, okay, this is not where I'm going, but it's getting me somewhere. And so the next one is like, okay, well, what if she's out with a group of her friends, and they're all these very unique characters from different houses. So this is quickly evolved from like just this one character, where now I'm getting ideas for all 4 houses of what they can dress like, what they can look like. So I start putting these elements together where like, okay, she's got her skirt, she's got these tattoos all over the place. She's drinking a butterbeer, she's got her wand out, she's having a good time, this long dark hair. And so now I can like slowly start developing that to something else where I'm bringing those elements together. Like obviously I'm still not done with this one, but those elements quickly came together and we're able to bring her to like a Gryffindor who's slightly edgier, slightly more adult, and has their own unique style kind of thing. So she's definitely not done, but I'm feeling really good.
I say zoom in and tell me about her face.
So
and write notes on your screen while you do it.
Oh yeah. Let's write my notes. I'm gonna write notes here and put this off to the side.
Make it more visually interesting.
Ooh. Okay. So the way that I saw her is as edgy. She was edgy. So never mind. Sharp. Okay, no. She was sharp.
Don't yell at the camera.
Oh, sorry.
No, you don't have to write things. I meant like show me with your pencil on how you're
drawing. My goodness.
Like point to things why you drew.
Just be specific here. Goodness gracious.
Not everybody can have every talent, Matt.
It's okay.
Spelling, you have autocorrect for that.
Yeah.
I can't autocorrect art, so just because I can spell words, it's fine.
The way that I saw her is that she was edgy. So I wanted to bring in more sharp elements, but also like, mixed with softness as she was this also enjoying thing. So, but mostly I'm doing sharp shapes. So she has a sharp nose. Her collar is more sharp. The edge of her vest is sharp. She had these big, I really liked her collar. It was this big, like old pointy collar that kind of broke her silhouette a bit. Her skirt had these cool pinstripes to it. But everything, like I'm trying to keep these angles sharp in here.
To be actually drawing so people can see.
Oh goodness, sorry. These.
Yes, there you go.
Her legs are very sharp still, like long triangles. And yeah, this is also following anatomy, but it is very intentional because I like to, showcase these things. Like everything is more or less sharp with her, but she's also like carefree and adult, so she's mixed with some soft angles in there as well.
Yeah. So the edginess comes through because that's why you chose sharper angles. But then her hair is round, her face is round.
So still a friendliness. And like an openness to her still. But she's probably more like, I would say that she's more of a Ginny Weasley.
I was going to say, she's like Ginny Weasley had she gone edgy.
Had she not met Harry and she was able to live her own life.
Yeah, be free, Jitty.
You know, didn't have to worry about the Death Eaters coming,
Ugh.
and she was just able to be her own person.
This is so specific. If you do not like Harry Potter, also in the larger context, we have larger feelings about the author of the Harry Potter books as the world does, as we should, in terms of some of that. So this is, I think,
Our remarks and love towards Harry Potter.
the story and what it meant to us as kids,
Yeah.
and now as adults with our own kids can be separate from some of the larger conversations happening in the world about the author J.K. Rowling. So we will do that. Okay, do you
Yeah.
find it harder to draw on an iPad than the Cintiq?
I love drawing on the iPad. It is really the only thing that I feels like
Paper.
and pencil.
So show them your glove and how you
Oh,
do it. So hold it up.
so this
your
is
camera to like.
yeah. I'll do that. I'm gonna.
Sorry, I can't change the camera because Matt's in charge of it now.
I got the camera. Here we go.
To get better quality for the screen.
So I use this glove.
Back it up.
It is made by a company called Dokiware, Doki Wear, Wear. This is the best glove. You'll see Paper-like, and you'll see Wacom has their own gloves like this. I've purchased probably a good dozen of these because I wear them out. I wear them every single day. I wear them all the time.
Okay, put it on. Show them how cool it looks.
It makes a sound effect
I
when
call
you
it
put
the
it on.
nerd glove.
But it's nice. It's got this nice microfiber
Edge.
lining on these two fingers here.
'Cause
So
they-
when I put this against the screen, this is not like this is not an ad or anything. I just really like it. Maybe it is Dokiware. Ooh. Anyways, you put this on the screen, and it does this cool thing where your sweaty hand never grips the glass.
Yeah, just a little this way. There we
Your
go.
sweaty hand never grips the glass, and it cleans the glass as you go. Ah.
Ooh.
Now, the only problem with having a glove that's so good is that you're never going to want to draw without it. So that's why I have 3 of these gloves
At all times.
at all times. I have one in my day bag, I have one in my travel bag, and I have 2. Well, I guess I have 2 at work. So maybe 4,
Yeah.
just in case I need them at any time. But yeah, this one, the iPad is for me is the best. I don't love sculpting on the iPad just yet.
So they can't see your screen anymore.
Oh goodness!
Sorry.
Watch
I don't have
this.
control over that. We're trying to figure it out, but it's fine.
Anyways,
There you go.
I don't necessarily love sculpting yet. The programs for that haven't been intuitive to feel like I don't need a tab
But they're
keyboard.
better.
They're better. They're getting better.
The
And
iPad for 3D is getting better.
yeah, the
It's
iPad
like-
for 3D is getting better. It's still I would say it's almost great, which is still pretty good.
He's always wondered. Pete has said that he's always wondered why nobody had made a glove without the additional padding.
Oh, without the additional padding, without this?
Yeah.
I think they do. They have. So I have one from Paper-like, because not only do I buy crazy amounts of this, but I like to compare it to the others. So I actually have the one from Paper-like and the one from Wacom. And the problem with both of those, because they don't have this additional padding, is that they are really thin and they get stretched out really fast, and then the seams start to rip. So I would say like the lifespan of those is way shorter than something like this, where like I have 20 of them, but they last for probably about, I would say, at least 2 or 3 years.
Okay, cool.
And they're not expensive. They're like $17 for the pro level one.
It's cute. Maybe
Anyways.
I'll link it in profile. I don't know. We'll get there.
Anyway, we can go back to
Okay, so
this. Do we want to do another sketch, or what? What's the?
grab one of your old sketches. We don't have any reviews. Once again, if anybody ever wants to, you can email sketchycup@gmail.com. If you want Matt to specifically look over something, he's going to choose one of his older drawings and maybe rework it of like someone you saw that you would change now that it's been a few years.
Okay, that's a good.
What would you change in like your updated style?
Okay, let's see.
Maybe something finished or a rough piece. Either way, but
We'll just drop
to
down
kind
to
of
one of these older
see.
characters here. Okay, this is just the first one that I stopped on.
Okay, cool.
So a review of myself. Isn't this nice?
This moment, getting some things.
Okay, this is a guy that I drew from a live drawing or from a coffee shop a while ago. And the idea was, I don't even know if I says, when I don't drink coffee often. When I do, it's from a curly straw. I liked that idea. I think I had just that thought. That was the thought that I saw. For some reason, when I saw this kid, he was like, we live in story time. We live in Utah. It's a very Mormon heavy state. And Mormons don't drink coffee, or traditionally don't drink coffee. And every now and then you can tell when someone's like rebelling. Because, like, you know, I sit there, I'm there all the time. And I got the impression that this was probably like, he was doing this to rebel.
Or maybe
And
he just wanted to, like...
this is the story that I came up with in my
Right.
own head. Like, again, this is not reality. This is in my head, but this is how I like to draw my characters. So if I was going to draw this again, what I would do is probably try to lean into this a little bit more.
What is this? No one can see what this is.
Nobody can see what this is.
Well, we can, but you need to actually draw.
Oh my goodness.
He just hovers the pencil like, you know.
We're going to lean into whatever this straw is.
There you go.
I think that that's the important thing in this drawing. It's not necessarily the kid. He's a secondary action. And I think that that's where my intention would change.
Okay.
Is putting the intention more on this straw. So what I would probably do is, you know, make this cup a little bit bigger.
It's a pretty good drawing right now, Matt. You did good.
Oh, thank you. And then I would probably put 2 hands on this. So if he's going to be holding it with like 2 hands. Here, I'm going to do a couple things to help this be seen a little bit better. I'd probably, you know, try to emphasize that cup, like the importance of what he's drinking. And you put a couple hands, you know, he's, sometimes it's just better to start from like, he's got.
Behind the scenes, you can't see it. Matt is visualizing,
Posing.
holding up. How does hands look? Sometimes he'll come up and say, "Can you take a picture of me doing this?"
Yeah.
And I'll just like pause and like.
And then she's like, "Yeah, but you got to put your shirt back on." He said, "Ah."
Matt always has to put a shirt back on.
Okay, so he's got maybe.
Same as our pesky 6-year-olds.
Big old cup. You know, he's, or maybe he is, I want to see like his head
Interesting.
is drinking this cup. And he's probably going to be like way more interested in the cup, like, whoa, what am I drinking kind of thing. Like it is, he's living life now because he's found this.
Okay, this is interesting because I have something to compare it to. The old one though, you're changing it so much that I actually am like, wait, I like the old one, Matt.
Yeah, well, this is the thing also that's hard to do is like people accept the first thing that's presented them most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Minus the case of live action Sonic.
Oh, that was good call.
That's a different, yeah. But like most of the time, people present things
We're not very good at change, humans.
Yeah, we're not very good at change. Um, I'd probably change like, ooh, give him a little bit more of like an S curve kind of thing. Maybe
Not
bring.
the old Sonic. So sweet. Yeah. Amen.
Yeah, not the old Sonic. That was like the one thing that like most people don't accept. But like even bad stuff, even this, like I look at this and I cringe. I think
The picture.
yeah.
First initial photo.
I look at this.
Put it back on the screen.
I'll put it back. Oh goodness, I deleted everything.
Well,
Just kidding. I look at this and I'm like, I hate this. I hate this.
Isn't that so silly?
I don't like it. There's like I see all the things wrong with it, and I see that it looks too much like my stuff. And honestly, it was not. I think I read a quote, and I'm kicking myself because I can't remember who the quote was from, but it was talking about artists working on their own art and how we hate artists like struggle with this, and I struggle with this, is that we hate art, our own art, because it looks like we did it. And he said something to the effect is like, isn't that sad that the most valuable aspect of your art you don't like?
Because it's like
because we're striving to like when I work I'm looking at Corey Loftus, I'm looking at these amazing Ryan Otley, like all these incredible Glenn Keane, like all these incredible people, these artists that like I strive to be, and I'm not them. My stuff doesn't look like them. My stuff looks like mine. And isn't that ironic that like we hate the stuff that because it looks like ours, but that's the thing that makes it
with
ours.
No actual fact checking at all. There's a bit of every artist in their work, which I think might come from Blade Runner.
Nope. No. I'll find the artist and maybe I'll tag it in.
We won't try to be fact checkers here. We have no idea. But that is very interesting about like the actual thing that you see in it.
Yeah, the thing that like I don't like about it is that it looks like I did it. when that's actually the thing that like makes it
a Matt Thorpe original.
A Matt Thorpe, and that's the thing that like honestly is what makes it anything valuable. Like
is the actual human behind it.
And like I look at the art that I have in my office hanging up. Brett Bean, his art looks like Brett Bean, and it's awesome, and that's what makes it valuable. But if Brett Bean's art looked like Corey Loftus art, Brett Bean's art does not have value to it anymore.
Yeah, like some of the
right?
like that's why mimicry and copying is like a little tricky.
But it's hard. It's still hard for me to like
look at your work.
Look at mine and be like, oh, but it's not this.
Yeah, that's probably a good reason why you shouldn't revisit some of your old stuff and try to change it, because it's like you're not that same person who drew it back then, so you should necessarily do it. But this is an interesting thing that you're doing, is like trying to recreate this in a completely different light, because I think that it's changed what I see as the person watching you. And
like it depends, because like to some the important thing is this guy. Mm-hmm. This is the important thing, and with this is my first pass. This will change, and I'll be like, okay, so this, I like maybe this pose more and what this is saying. Maybe not the craziness of the straw, but I like the expression and the intent with this a little bit more. So the two things that I am gleaming from my rough sketch over this is not necessarily the design, but I like where his eye's at, that he's a little bit more clutched with this, like it's intentionally here, and that this has become a bigger focus because this is now the same size as his head. So now I have that, and the next step is, okay, how do I bring back this guy?
Because I would say that when I look at this picture where it's your original from what you did, I think it's a cool guy who's not afraid to be silly.
Yeah,
whereas
and so
your new sketch is
just
a silly boy.
It's a silly boy. So how do I bring So how do I bring that back in? But again, my rough sketch here is purely intentioned to help me. What is the message that I'm saying? That's all that this is. And so then I would take this and like, okay, well, I've got this guy. He has more of a a triangular shape, kind of triangle and rectangle shapes. Um, he's not so cartoony, and so I would start pushing that back a little bit.
Yeah, make him less cartoony, like
Less,
bringing
probably
the original
bringing,
character back.
yeah, start bringing that character back a little bit. We're like, okay, I can see. I actually want to like take that picture off. I got my reference off to the side, and maybe I can even bring the reference in over
Your
here.
friend Pete said he moved over to lighting, and he keeps hearing the same thing: "Is I don't like it, but it's a certain style." Because isn't that it? Like the humanity behind someone's thing is style, which makes it so that like, oh, that's not my taste or whatever for
Hmm.
the individual, but it's actually the essence of a human.
Yeah, it's like the essence of a human that we don't want. It's
Sometimes,
it's very interesting like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. The essence of humanity in its
Uh-huh.
thing.
Man, I'm gonna have to define that. But like, I'd probably keep that jaw. I like this.
Yeah.
This I think is really iconic of him. This shape.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how do I bring some of that back?
But how do you think that we as a humans start valuing humanity as like the essence is the beautiful part? Like how do you train yourself to see it that way? Because I think that's how it is that you'd almost rather have something imperfect because a human hand made it than a machine's perfectness and like straight lines or straight things.
Yeah.
In some of like what we put in our houses, what we put in our our clothing, what we
So
put in our artwork.
yeah, it's interesting because like we live in a society where we celebrate, um, where we kind of celebrate looking and acting and being the same.
I guess that's like the full
And
circle from the beginning,
yeah,
and
is that
without saying it so specifically of like hot people are boring, but it is a little bit of like when we're all
our houses look the same.
look the
They have that
same.
idea of like this white cottage houses or
Yeah, I mean,
farmhouses.
especially here in Utah, that's what we're
The
experiencing.
art, like if you look at car designs from the 1950s and 1960s to now, if you take off their icon, like their logos, you almost think, oh, those are all the exact same SUV because they all look exactly the
That's
same.
true, like the cars and houses. Interesting.
Cars, houses, our style is becoming a lot more the same. The hairstyles are all becoming a lot more the same.
Well, even our strip malls, like
Yeah,
you can be across the United States and you can see the same 7 stores
yeah, you see,
in every single city in every single state. So is it something that we have to start untraining ourselves to start seeing that like the human style is the important bits that will keep us from like monotony?
yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I think that's a very like, how do you break it? And I think it honestly just you have to feel comfortable with
Mm.
yourself and
Yeah, and we're always like fighting against in group, out group
uh-huh.
safety, right? You want to stand out enough that you feel like yourself, but not stand out too much that you're scared of being like an out
Mhm.
from the safety of a group kind of thing. We're humans in by nature, so that is interesting though. Is that like Matt looks at Matt's artwork and sees himself in it, and that's what he doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily
and
always like.
that's like sometimes I have to fight against that
Interesting.
feeling of like, I can tell that I did it.
Which is funny because someone else who like witnesses your artwork is like, wow, I can tell that Matt did that. And it's like reverence.
uh-huh.
It's sacred. Like coming from your wife or your children, that's like a sacredness of like,
Uh-huh.
wow, we can tell that dad's or my husband's hands drew that.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing of like, is it something that is it helpful to the artist? Because then you're not always seeing yourself as sacred because you're just like in the grit of the work of it rather than
Yeah.
interesting.
It's a funny thing, and I think it's something that I have to honestly internalize and like decompress
Yeah.
because I think I've fallen into that trap for a long
But I
time.
also think it can serve you to not think that everything you make it turns to gold. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
it
yeah.
can be that something of like, I made that, and never be fully satisfied because that keeps like the pressure or it keeps like the excitement of it being like, but maybe next time maybe next time I could, nail it, but also with the grace of not being so harsh that it like ruins your life.
Yeah, you gotta be. Yes. Right.
Speaking
These
from
are
maybe a
these are
person-
good points here. Okay.
Speaking as a person who sometimes lives with the person Matt and not the artist Matt, maybe it's something we can all benefit from. It's just like the grace of it all. So interesting. It was nice to hear you verbalize that in a way that was specific about your art.
Yeah.
Because it removes it from necessarily some of the more.
It's a really well known. It's like I'm trying to think of who it was, and I had like had it in my head all week. I'm like, oh man.
I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna put it in the show notes.
We are.
That's the thing people do.
Hold on. Gotta put the lid on this thing. You know, spill.
Okay, I'm gonna give you 3 minutes.
Okay.
To just kind of finish the sketch, and then because we don't have any submissions, which is fine, but just know if you ever want to, this is part of what we're going to try to do is like open the availability for feedback, for questions.
And last time we had people
Even a few more people
fill
but
out
honestly,
an email
yeah,
and kind of come in. So we're still trying to find the right cadence for how we want this.
Because the value is sometimes connecting with people live, but also understand that we live in such a tricky world of timing and energy and when people can or cannot hop on to the screens that we all succumb to.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
But we'll start advertising more of, you can submit questions, you can submit things earlier, even if you can attend live, you can watch it later and maybe we'll get to it kind of like a podcaster's journey or something that we've now seen in this digital world. So I really like this second pass. I was a little uncertain when you did the first one, but I can see where you're going now.
Yeah, we're just, developing this a little bit more.
Yeah.
And trying not to change too much of like the essence of what this is. He's probably a little less cool.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a cool guy.
Uh-huh. But I don't necessarily know like if that's what I was going for or if that's just how it turned out.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if my focus is this straw and him drinking a straw through this and like.
But I think it's also just very subjective in general of one person will prefer the first, one person will prefer the second.
Oh yeah, forever.
Pete does love the pinky out thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
We love the pinky out.
I think it's those cute things that just make it so cute. You start noticing.
So there's, essentially it's not necessarily overall it's very similar. The focus has changed though.
Yeah.
Quite a bit from the two. Where this is the same message, but it's a lot more subtle. Like it's subtly simple.
I think you've changed I can see the difference in posture, confidence. It's like he's trying to be the first guy, but he's actually the second guy.
Yeah, it's like this is who he is on the outside, and this is who he wants to be on the inside. Like who's who he wants to.
Annie, because Severance just
ended. We were not going to give any spoilers.
Anything about that,
but we will say no.
We won't say anything.
We won't do spoilers.
But Innie and Outie, I think that's an interesting concept that like the TV show Severance that just had its second season finale this week. That's a big deal. We watched it. We have some thoughts about it, but we won't share because that seems so rude.
Oh, it seems so rude.
It hasn't even been 1 weekend. Do you know that people are busy and like sometimes we can't watch it live? Or like right.
The idea that it comes out at midnight. And I wake up, and that's the first post I've seen is, "What did you think about the finale?" I'm like, I haven't even seen it. Like I was asleep.
Yeah, so that is an interesting concept though of Innie and Outie because you could draw the same character twice, just like you just did, and it's almost like what maybe the outer world sees, but what our inner world is actually feeling. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. But also, like when I'm looking for characters, I'm looking for people like this.
Have you seen Mythic Quest, Matt?
Yes, I have seen Mythic Quest.
He's just saying Severance and Mythic Quest are both great shows.
Ooh, right I haven't seen, so I've watched the first 2 seasons of Mythic Quest and just started the 3rd. So, but I really love Mythic Quest. It's exactly how Life at Epic is.
Which is interesting.
Not joking. That was a joke. Epic is amazing, and I love Epic.
Mythic Quest is about a video game company.
Is about a video game studio, and how they make, and they're
Okay.
like trying to come up with new ideas. Anyways,
Any other questions? Let us know right now. Otherwise, we're going to start wrapping this up. Thanks for coming. If you made it. Anything else about your characters or characters in the wild? One, we don't, like I said, you don't take photos of people.
yeah, don't take photos, because it's not. That's not the goal. Is a 1-for-1. Remember.
Show
It
him
is.
the woman at the beginning.
Oh.
You said it was done with Ubisoft. UBISOFT.
Oh, Ubisoft.
Ubisoft.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's a game studio.
Oh, nice. So yeah, show the person at the beginning. Like this was.
So this was like.
If you have
the
1
the
minute.
1 minute reference of she walks in, and this is kind of where we ended up was right here. But again, this is like the first pass, and now we're gonna start adding in like.
You don't need to add any more. I just wanted to
Anyways.
circle back.
I would though. I like where the drawing was going.
Well, and you definitely can. Maybe not when people are watching live. So, okay. Well done, Matt.
Oh well.
Characters in
Thank
the
you for
Wild.
joining us
This
today.
is a
Thanks for the
very
questions.
Normal thing that Matt does is look at the world differently to see what's interesting, and then he can take it into his artwork, which is a cool thing. I think most artistic, creative endeavors do that, where you see something and it like inspires you to do something with it differently. And yeah. Anything else?
No, I
You want to
think.
make us big and say goodbye?
Oh my gosh, we're gonna make us big and we're gonna say goodbye. No, this was great. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening to us
Pete.
ramble. Thanks for the questions, Pete, Diego,
Hopper, Sean.
Hopper. Oh, nice, Sean.
Sean.
Thanks for coming out, guys. Yeah. But we appreciate it. We're gonna keep going about every 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, the cadence is about every other week. What we can handle.
The tech will get better each week.
Yeah, we're hoping that the main thing we want, the whole goal is to have Matt's screen the least, the what is it? The most focused.
The most focused.
High def.
Yeah.
HK, 4K.
But we'll get Carla in focus eventually.
I'm great. It's fine. It's fine. Cheers to you, and
Cheers.
let us know if there's any topics that are interesting that you actually would like to hear Matt's specific point of view. Cheers, and have a cup. Hopefully your Sunday and week goes great. Happy halfway through March. Holy smokes.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
We did it.
We're just cruising along here. Yeah.
Nice to see
We'll
you
keep
streaming again.
kind of focusing sometimes on 2D, sometimes on 3D, sometimes a little bit of both. That's how I like it.
Really good. And
cheers, I guess.
cheers. I think that's it.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming. Have a good one.
See you guys later. Thank you so much. Have a good
Bye.
day.